we've been taking the topic of short positions and breaking them up into several different lessons because it's just new. We could do a long position in one lesson because people understand buying low and selling high. They really get this side of it when the direction is up. When the direction is down, it's a little freaky, and since most people have never done it before, it's worth spending some time on with several examples. So let's say a person says, Andy, I get it. I've gone short all the time. I get this. This is old hat for me. Well, let's do a couple more examples just to drive this home, because there's a lot of other ways to take a short position other than just stock. Remember, we did this with a cell phone. We've done this now with a share of stock. Well, we could do it with anything we wanted, right? We can do this with anything that we want to do it with. And one of the ones that I really like is currency. You can go short with a currency. So let's say we have this currency here. Let's blow it up a little big and introduce it. This is called a Zimbabwe dollar. It's from the Bank of Zimbabwe. So here we go. Let's pull this money off here and go into Zimbabwe cash. And the funny thing about Zimbabwe money is it experienced something we call a hyperinflation. So if you remember back from the 4 pillars in fundamental analysis, we had talked about currencies. Remember the Continental that hyperinflated, and the Confederate dollar that hyperinflated, and the Pengo that became a fortnit that hyperinflated. Well, if you remember, in 1980, a Zimbabwe dollar was worth $1.47 US. But as that lost value, pretty soon, it was almost worth nothing. As a matter of fact, what was interesting is these wound up in the garbage can. If you can imagine, if I blow this up, this is Zimbabwe currency right here, and there's millions of dollars just thrown in the garbage can next to banana peels and orange peels. Just millions of dollars. I mean, $500,000 bills, and I don't even know what that one is under there. This is $200,000, but this whole garbage can is full of cash because it just lost so much value. I mean, for example, if you had shares of Enron stock today, where would you throw them? You throw them in the trash can because they're garbage now. They're not worth anything. When something's not worth anything anymore, it becomes garbage. Let me say it again. When something isn't worth anything, it has no worth, we throw it away. There's no reason to keep anything. There's no value to it. So let's go back to our idea of confidence, and let's say that that you had a confidence level of 100%, that you could see the future, and that you said, what I think? I'll tell you what I think. I think the Zimbabwe dollar is going to go down. Let's make this a little smaller right here. Okay, so let's move all this off here and do everything in wisdom and order here. So let's say this is the Bank of Zimbabwe. Let's label it this time. This is the Bank of Zimbabwe, where you can get Zimbabwe dollars and currency, and you see that the high price, the price of a Zimbabwe dollar right now is $1.47 US. That's what you can buy or sell. That's the exchange rate. Okay, and let's say that we have an exchange here as well, like eBay. That's all it really is, right? I mean, isn't that true? That's all it really is we have an exchange here, but this exchange is not a stock exchange. This exchange is what we call the foreign exchange. So we'll just call this the foreign exchange market, or what they call the Forex. I did that wrong. The Forex for short. So let's review. $1.47 US is what these are going for, US dollars. We have the Bank of Zimbabwe right here, and we have the foreign exchange market right here. So we have the got to get the R in there, the Forex. You see that? You got to get the Forex in there. And so we believe with confidence, we say these guys are printing these things, and they had this guy, I think his name was Mugabe, who was just a bad president and a bad leader, and they were printing this stuff like it was going out of style. So we say, we think this is going to go down. Okay, if we think the Zimbabwe currency is going to go down, what do? The first step would be to what? To borrow. So this is an interesting question now. If we go back to the cell phone example, if your confidence gets to 100%, what would have been better than shorting an iPhone? Well, shorting 2 iPhones, or 4 iPhones, or 10 iPhones. In other words, when the confidence level rises, if my confidence level got to 100%, right? I don't know that even I trust my own self. But let's say that I really knew it, that I had a DeLorean and I could go in the future and I could see this going down. I knew it. That's kind of how Soros feels a lot of the time, George Soros. I'd want to do as much as I can, as fast as I can. Borrow, sell, as much as I can, as fast as I can. Now that's weird to think about borrowing as fast and as much as you could, to go as fast as you could and as deep as you could. But let's do it. Let's go to this Bank of Zimbabwe, and they've got all this cash here, and you say, I'd like to borrow 100 trillion Zimbabwe dollars. Wouldn't that be something? 100 trillion Zimbabwe dollars. Now, of course, the engineers are going to say, they'd never loan you that. You got to have collateral. Look, engineers, relax. We're just learning concepts. It's just an example, guys. Relax a little bit. Why do I give the engineers so much grief? I'll tell you why. When I was playing basketball in college, it was all those engineers that were so smart that took the curve up. So I had a harder time maintaining my eligibility competing against you guys. So now I have to kind of get a little revenge. I hope you're okay with that. But engineers, relax. Okay, we're just teaching concepts here. So we borrow 100 trillion Zimbabwe dollars. 100 trillion. Let's take that to the back so it stays. 100 trillion Zimbabwe dollars we owe this bank now. Okay. Now what's our next step? Trade this away. Remember that you can be a buyer and a seller at the same time. Eggs and bacon, right? Eggs and bacon. Easy to remember, right? You're always a buyer and a seller, right? This guy trades bacon and eggs. Is he a buyer or is he a seller, right? Well, you have this. You're going to trade this, so you're a buyer or seller. So you're going to be a buyer of U.S. dollars, and you're going to be a seller of this. Let me see if I can find a dollar here somewhere. I got to find a dollar. Here it is. So we're going to trade this at $1.47 US. Well, let's do the math on this. That means that you have this dollar times, look at this, times 1.47 trillion. That's what you have. $1.47 trillion for 100 trillion. Is that? No, it's even more than that. It's 147 trillion is what you have. Okay, so $1 times 147 trillion and you owe 100 trillion. Why? Because the exchange rate is $1.47 US, and we think it's going down. So we've borrowed and sold. We've borrowed and traded, right? Pretty amazing. So we traded this on the Forex exchange. Let's put it back over here. And they gave us, when we gave them this 100 trillion, they gave us $1.47 for every single one we traded on this foreign exchange market. So now we have this. So let's make sure we relabel things here. Let's make sure we keep it right. So this is the Bank of Zimbabwe, and this is the foreign exchange. This is the Forex, and that's how we're able to do this. So now we have, maybe this is like a balloon payment to these guys, a 30-year with a balloon that, we don't have to make any payments until the end. It just balloons. We pay them the whole thing back plus the interest. Well, how far down did this go? What was the low price? Well, this one actually made it all the way to the garbage can, didn't it? It went all the way down to zero. So it's going to be tough to even find these now on the foreign exchange, because where did this go? If you go to the foreign exchange, they're going to say, well, we really don't have this anymore. We threw them all in the garbage can. And in reality, these guys aren't even going to want it back, because it's not worth anything to them either. But in theory, if they said, yes, we do want it back, you could simply go to the garbage can, right? Doesn't matter where you get it, as long as you get it back. That's key for the next example. Doesn't matter where you get it, as long as you get it back. Doesn't matter where you get it, as long as you get it back, right? And so we buy this for zero money, because it's in the garbage can. We can buy this for free. We can. No one's going to care if we pull it out of the garbage can, right? No one's going to care. And so we pull this out of the garbage can, and we say, here, Bank of Zimbabwe, there's your worthless money. And we go ahead and we return it, just like that. Oh, let's line that up beautifully. We return it, and now we have no liability whatsoever, and we're left with $147 trillion. Now, that's an extreme example, of course, and I've never made $100 trillion. No one has. But George Soros has taken down incredible trades this way. Absolutely incredible trades. You know, this is an interesting article from the Investopedia. Maybe that's a little big. I'll bring this down to size a little bit. But we're not going to worry about how these are made. You know, the Forex does it in pairs, a little difference. But the idea is very similar, where we have all these incredible trades, and one of the ones they said some of the best trades are George Soros. You know, Stanley Druckenmiller made millions with 2 long bets on the same currency working for trader George Soros. But Soros just crushes this one. Let's just take an example of this. The British pound shadowed the German mark leading up into the 1990s, even though the two countries were very different economically. Many speculators, George Soros chief among them, wondered how long exchange rates fight market forces. And he began to take up what kind of position? A short position against the British pound. Soros borrowed heavily to bet more on a drop in the pound. So he's betting on it going down. Makes sense? Soros made at least $1 billion off of this trade. For the British government's policy, the devaluation of the pound helped. So the fact is when the currency was devalued in the British pound, Soros pounced, he made $1 billion, right? So it's not just this type of stuff. And he's done all kinds of trades like this. He's done it. I mean, he's made countries nervous by the positions he's taken so far. So it's not just a cell phone you can do this with, and it's not just a stock you can do this with. You can do this with currencies as well. But the key to breaking through on this type of stuff, if I can blow this chicken scratch up, the key to this is it really helps to understand what buying and selling is. You know, what is a buyer, what is a seller? Well, he was selling bacon and buying eggs. He was selling eggs and buying bacon. And the moment you put $1 in here, for some reason it makes people have a hard time to say, look, in this case, I was what? I was borrowing and selling Zimbabwe dollars, right? And trading it for US dollars. So I was a buyer of the US dollar and a borrower and a seller of the Zimbabwe dollar, right? Buying and selling. Really think about that. You know, bacon and eggs. The bacon, he was a seller of bacon and he was a buyer of eggs. This guy was a seller of eggs and a buyer of bacon. And that's how it works. So here we were, a seller of the Zimbabwe dollar and a buyer of the US dollar. When we come back, let's see, I said we're going to do example after example after example after example. So I owe you one more example. When we come back, we're going to do what I think is one of the best short plays that can be done.